What is up, everybody? We are back. Episode 59 of Bleeding Blue podcast. We are here. September is here. Football is here. September baseball is here, and we are getting ready to it's betting season. That's what they call it, right? It's betting
Yeah,
season.
sure is.
Hockey, baseball, volleyball. No, not volleyball. Football, fucking basketball is coming up soon too. Not
Hmm.
too excited. But still, anyway, it's a good time to be alive if you are a sports fan, I would say. Let's get right into it, Ryan. You start us off. Let's talk some football right here. Did you get a chance? I know you're working, and let's let the people know that you did in fact miss the first game of the Bills season, even though you are you know, possibly the big
Yeah.
fan, and somehow you didn't even get to watch all of it. But
Well, yeah, so this was a big problem. So I tried to switch with every single person who I work with, but it seemed like everyone was doing something Sunday. So that really pissed me off. So I had to miss a lot. I had to miss basically every single game from Sunday. But I as much as I possibly could, I tried to watch the game. And I did watch, I'd say about 30 to 40% of it. So I watched an okay amount for, while I was working. And what I saw from Sunday was not the best, but it is week one. So, Bill's coming up against a stingy Cardinals team. I was kind of, as Bills fans are, we kind of overreact in some points. But like I said, I thought the Bills were going to destroy the Cardinals, and obviously that wasn't the case on Sunday. But it is what it is, right? The first half I watched. I'd say 70% of the first half. I kind of watched most of the game in the first half, and that was depressing.
oh,
That
it
was
was
one of the most depressing halves I've ever watched in a long time. And you know what? I'm gonna lay it off. I'm gonna lay off on roasting the team because it's the first game of the season and it's completely fine to uh to have that kind of half, right? Josh Allen gives up the fumble. We kind of gave up a lot of yards and they had some long drives going down the field. The Kyler Murray was moving the ball pretty well, passing it pretty well. James Conner was running the ball really well. Um, they had a solid offense going in that first half. The Bills obviously weren't expecting it, to say the least, because they thought they would just roll over this Cardinals team because they had only had 4 wins last year. But I got to give credit where credit's due, man. The Cardinals came out strong. Their defense is playing really well. They got that fumble off Allen on the first possession of the game for the Bills, first offensive possession. But yeah, then the second half came along, and I think they got a nice pep talk at halftime. McDermott's like, "Yeah, we got to step it up here because that was pathetic." And it was good that they got that touchdown before the end of the first half. Josh Allen running that in, because if it was 17-3 or even 17-6 at half, that would have been a bad way to go into the dressing room. So it was good that we got that touchdown and that kind of sent us on the right direction. And then obviously the third quarter is when we came alive with 14 points, 2 touchdowns quickly with the Mac Hollins one, and obviously Shakir's touchdown was awesome. That guy is so slippery, man. That guy can move everywhere. And he's upside down while he converts it. It was really cool. Really cool to see. And obviously, I'm just looking at the stats here. A lot of guys were Josh Allen's distributing the ball very well between different guys. Kincaid only had 1 reception, which is, he'll definitely get more as the season gets along. But, Ray Davis had one, Curtis Samuel, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, MVS, Dawson Knox had him one. Mac Hollins, who was kind of an underrated player that the Bills picked up this offseason. He obviously got the touchdown and another reception. James Cook was catching a lot on the flats. Keon Coleman, his first game back, I thought he was great. Made some nice catches. But yeah, this team looks very good. The second half definitely gave me hope for what's going to come this Thursday against the Dolphins. But I think they'll be fine. Just the defense just needs to work on a couple things, right? Obviously, that first half was not the best, letting up 17 points against a, not the best Cardinals offense. They got the Bills got lucky because Marvin Harrison Jr., their fourth overall pick, only got one reception. So and three targets. I don't know how that happened. Because it's your fourth overall pick, your number one gonna be your number one wide receiver this year.
Mhm.
So I don't know how that happened, but why I just wanted to talk about one play in specific in the second half with the Cardinals were trying to get a touchdown to tie the game or to win the game if they got the extra point, but they on third down and I think it was 8 or 9 with like 20 or 30 seconds left. They ran the ball on 3rd and 8 in the last drive. Who runs the ball on 3rd and 8? I don't know whose decision that was to do that, but that was one of the worst play calls. I was literally shocked that they did that because that is horrid. No NFL team does that. And I was like, who runs the ball on third down on your last drive when you need to waste as little clock as possible? But
Yeah.
I'm happy because if they got down the field and if they scored a touchdown, that game was over.
Yeah.
Bills would be 0-1 right now if they didn't screw that drive up. So thank God for the shitty play calling by the offensive coordinator there in Arizona. But yeah,
That's why
definitely an interesting game, but not the prettiest. But we'll take it for a week one win. That's for sure. What were your thoughts?
agreed. Yeah. So I think it might part of it is first game jitters, for the Bills. That's
Hmm.
the thing. Again, Josh Allen tends to perform second half. He's always good. He knows when he's down, he needs to come back and he does his job. And that's what he did. He played like vintage Josh Allen. Maybe not as good as we've seen him before, but another guy that I saw that was running the ball a lot, doing their job as the running back. James Cook did a great job, so I thought he was good.
Yep,
um,
over 100
saw him,
yards,
saw him a lot
rushing and
like
receiving.
that game. Like it was a good amount. You're right. There was a good amount of distributing within plays. There was passing the ball to James Cook, trying to get good drives, to get the first down. And same with, but they're, yeah, just other players that they're able to distribute. And then you got Josh Allen running in touchdowns as well. So I guess their game plan in the second half, that's for sure, was really good, I think, because
Hmm.
there was a lot you did not know what they were gonna do. Like that's what I was thinking. You did not know what the Bills were going to do, what plays they're gonna do. And again, the Cardinals are an amateur young team, so it's a lot. Maybe it's their defense didn't know how to respond. The Bills defense, though, that's another thing. That's a whole other thing. Was not I It did not seem like they were playing very well.
Mm.
Obviously, it's just it did not look pretty. Kyler Murray, obviously, like he's the Arizona's QB this year, and he's been playing there for a while, and but I don't know. I didn't really see much that I didn't see
Hmm.
much success from him, but yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say because I was talking to Johnny, who friend of the program, who's also a big Bills fan. He was saying to me that Matt Milano is being missed in this defense, and I wholeheartedly agree because I don't know if you watched some Bills games, you might have noticed Matt Milano, but he's our main linebacker, and when he's on the field, it's a completely different defense. That guy's such a good leader, and when he's not on the field, it's a tough look, right? And, obviously he's going to be out for probably until late this year. He might not even come back till even if we make the playoffs. So it's going to be tough to see if like, what this defense is going to look like without him. And, obviously we just found out Taron Johnson, probably our best cornerback, is going to be out on Thursday. He's got an injury, so that's not going to be fun. Just makes our defense even worse.
Yeah.
But it happens, man. But like, this defense is just always riddled with injuries every single year. And it's never the offense, it's always the defense. But our defense is always still solid, despite the fact that we have injuries every year. But, I think we're just gonna fight through it and hopefully it's not that bad on Thursday when we play Miami. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, agreed. That'll be a good game though to watch. Miami versus obviously all the games are going to be definitely enjoyable. Gonna try and get my buddies
Hmm.
over, watch that game again or something like that on the
Yeah.
Thursday night. But yeah, so I was gonna mention, yeah, I was just what was I gonna say? Yeah, the Bills they came out with the win. That's what's most important. Just keep on winning. They're on pace for 17-0. So that's
I don't know if they're on pace for that, but I don't think any team in the NFL is on pace for 17-0. There's no real star teams right now.
they're on
There's
pace.
all
They're 1-0. They're on pace for 17-0. Literally, if you
yeah.
think about it, technically.
There's the every team has their own
That'll be the
flaws.
name of the
That's
episode.
for sure.
On pace for 17-0.
Is
So
that is that is that the is that the title of the episode?
I love the episode.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
Yeah. So I am happy with that though. Yeah, there's more games to come. If you're able to win the games where you don't play your best and you're not maybe not the best team the whole game on the field, that's a good sign, honestly, for this team. There's a lot of
Hmm.
positives you can take out of this game. I think more positives than negatives. Injuries, obviously, but in my opinion, more
Yeah,
positives than negatives.
yeah. That the bounce back of losing, being down 14 in the second half, and then or the second quarter, and then coming back, that definitely shows some promise. So I'm not too worried. It's just the defense that that needs to be held accountable for their performance. But this always happens first game of the season, so I'm not that
I,
I'm
I,
not that worried. It's
I
just
also
guys need to come back.
I also think it's less pressure. Uh, I also think what was I going to say? It's less pressure on this team to win the second game. Whereas remember last year was like, oh my God, they lost the first game and they all hell broke loose. It was horrible. Then they
Hmm.
won the next game and there was like, okay, we're okay. We're not a bad team. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That first game last year was a fluke in my opinion. Even though Aaron Rodgers did get injured, that game, just the winning off a kickoff in the overtime is just so fluky. And a lot of Bills losses are kind of like that. It's very rare the Bills get blown out. It's been a while since I've seen the Bills get blown out by a team. Usually it's one score games or overtime losses in the past couple of years, but it's very rare the Bills get blown out in a
Yeah.
loss. So
See,
I'm not too worried. I'm not too worried about this team heading into the next couple of weeks.
neither am I.
Um, yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Anything else you have to say about football? There's some good games yesterday, though. I was gonna say.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, we can mention obviously Tom Brady is a big discussion point. Obviously, his first game as a color commentator on Fox. Um, I didn't get to watch it. I
Yeah.
didn't get to watch it, but my dad, he watched the game and he said he wasn't bad. So I think it's obviously his first game, so he has to get used to the timing of when to speak and how to how to conduct, how to talk and explain things. But my dad said he was pretty good. So I think him and Romo are going to be kind of competing against each other in a couple of years to see who's the better one. But Romo, when he started commentating, he was predicting every single play. I remember the first couple of years he was commentating with Jim Nance, who we'll get into as our future top five this week. But Tony Romo was unbelievable. Like he's still great, but at the first 2-3 years when he was with Jim Nance, he was predicting every single play that these teams were coming out with, which is pretty cool to see. But just how knowledgeable these guys are, and obviously Tom Brady, the
Yeah.
best quarterback, NFL player of all time. You just know that in the future when he's going to get rolling, he's going to he's gonna have that Tony Romo effect where he's gonna be
And
predicting the defenses and what the offense is gonna be
yeah,
looking like, and it's gonna be crazy to see.
I always thought people did not like Tony Romo, though. I always thought they always thought him as a joker because he's always like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes.
Well,
He's got the
before, yeah,
Mahomey thing going right there, a little Mahomey there. Uh,
that he wasn't like that the first couple of years. He was basically told by the NFL to stop predicting plays because how knowledgeable he is of the game.
Mm.
And like he's kind of gone off the rails a little bit, but still a good color guy to Jim Nance, because Jim Nance is kind of, smooth, he's kind of calm a bit. And then like Tony Romo kind of brings that, energy to the booth, which
I get
is
that. I get that. Yeah. Like yeah. Again, I didn't really have a problem with him either. I haven't listened to enough of Tony Romo, but just from what I've seen online, it seems like people kind of make
you
fun of.
you will this year, because he does a lot of Bills games, and
Yeah,
uh so you'll hear a lot of him this year.
I'm sure he does. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Anyway, I think that's it's definitely an exciting thing. I'm excited. I'm enjoying football already. It's a lot of fun. So you're getting to watch me be the baby.
I'm telling you, man, by the end of this year,
I
you're
was
going to
once a
be,
caterpillar. Now I'm a butterfly in the football world. So, which is exciting.
yeah, this by the end of this year, you're not gonna camp. You're not gonna wait
Yeah. I'm
until
afraid
next
I'm going
year.
to turn into you, though. So that's my biggest fear, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, let's move
this
on. Let's move on to some Jays talk.
yeah, let's get into some Jays talk before we start about the games themselves. Bo Bichette came out with a quote interview with Shai Davidi, explaining how his goal, if he had to think about it hard and deep, would be to uh, play with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. His for the rest of his career and win a championship with him. So that's a very good sign in the Blue Jays world, because that goes to show that hopefully Bo Bichette will be a Toronto Blue Jay for life, and hopefully he is not bad next year. That's the other thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Bo Bichette with the Blue Jays. I like, because I don't want to flip flop, because there was other stuff that came out too from other writers like Bob Nightingale saying that the Blue Jays plan to trade Bo Bichette and there's no mutual agreement. So I had heard that he wasn't a fan of staying with the Jays. He wanted to be on another team and that they were going to sign Vladdy. Like it was all Jays sign Vladdy to long term deal. Bichette gets traded. That's what it sounded
Mm-hmm.
like longest time. And this just totally snapped that in half. So I'm a little shook. I'm a little surprised because I always thought that he was always just gonna
Yeah.
not as close to an agreement. We've always heard that Vladdy wants to stay and Bo kind of doesn't really say what he feels. So I'd be happy for them to both stay and be Blue Jays for life. I've grown up watching these guys all throughout high school and in college, and I've liked watching them, every day for
Mm-hmm.
100 games. It's been fun because they all they do is just hit the ball and hit home runs. So for the most part, except when they're injured or they suck. But
Right.
I'm sure you feel the same way. You want Bo Bichette to stay.
Oh yeah, I'd
Both.
love to have him still on the team, right? Well, obviously we were talking about that all season about, who's going to stay and who's going to leave, right? It's the one or the other. But now, Bo's kind of solidified that he wants to stay. So it's good to hear that these cornerstones of the lineup are, they want to see this team succeed. And
Yeah.
obviously this year wasn't the year for them to go for a playoff push once again, but you know, that happens, right? And I think, obviously Bo wants to see this team succeed. Same with Vlad. So they're kind of like the Marner and Matthews of their of the Jays right now. Like they want to stay together and hopefully win a championship, right? And I
But
think
you're
that's good
you're
for
kind of
the
tired.
franchise.
You're kind of sick and tired of Martin, though.
Yes, but I'm kind of sick and tired of not I'm not as much as Marner, but Bo's kind of had a very off year.
But I think from also he's been injured too. He's been injured, which is
Right.
for a lot of the season he's been injured, and he's just dealt with injuries. So I'm not gonna try like I'm not gonna blame it on him because like it's definitely not him or Vladdy's fault that they're not in the playoffs. Like in years prior, they've been in the playoffs, and it's not their fault that they didn't continue to. Well, it's kind of Bo's fault when he crashed into Springer in game two.
Right.
But they're definitely helping more than not helping. It's more, you know, whose fault it is it's Ross Atkins' fault and John Schneider's fault
Obviously.
for not signing players and not building up enough players, good enough players around Vladdy and Bo. So, and we know this, we've talked about this, so you understand. We all understand. But let's talk about the series. Again, pretty uneventful. The only aspect of that series is that I enjoyed is Spencer Horwitz.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, if which is interesting, he hit 2 home runs in game two where they won 9-5, and in that game, if that was at Yankee Stadium, he would have had a 4 home run game because he went 4 for 4.
Really?
Yeah, he went 4 for 4,
That's insane.
just like absolute bullets off the wall. Which is and if you watch it, I will like all of his home runs just absolutely shitting on the ball. And then game three, he came up super clutch 2 run home run to give the Blue Jays the lead. But excuse me, did not amount for anything because Chad Green came and blew save
Another game.
another.
Oh boy.
You got Zach Poop coming in the bottom of the 11th, and it's like, what else do you expect? Like, what else do you expect? From Zach Poop when his literally poop.
You know what? I gotta give it to the Jays here because they're playing a tough Braves team and taking one out of two, almost 2 out of 3 against that team is pretty good.
And like they're okay. Like
They're a playoff team, no?
they are a playoff team, but they're not like they're without Ronald Acuna, Ozzy Albies, Austin Riley, you know, those guys, a crappy Matt Olson who didn't
Yeah.
like their best players are Michael Harris the second, who's good, and I'm trying to think of who else. I, Orlando Arcia, like Jared Kelly.
Mhm.
Their best players are pitchers at this moment. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, so the series, game one, nothing, just like no runs. Game two, 9-5 win. Saw some runs, saw some action. You know, Vladdy getting some hits. George Springer getting lots of hits. Other than that, nothing
Yeah.
at all. So it was another series. We're in that September time. Nothing really matters. If anything exciting happens, we'll know. But who you saying is going to be on? You think Spencer Horwitz is? You think he'll be a starter next year for the Jays? He'll definitely be on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think for sure because he's playing really good. You know, it was a bold decision for I can't remember who they took out for Horowitz. Who was it Biggio?
Um,
Biggio got traded and they brought Horowitz up. Was
I'm
that
pretty
it?
sure it was. I'm pretty sure, or it could have been Daniel Vogelback. It might have been, yeah, one or the other that they
Yeah.
deal.
So it was one of those. Yeah, it was one of those guys they uh that they took down and brought up Horowitz from the AAA, and I mean I think he's been playing pretty well for
Yeah,
you know
playing very
what
well.
he's supposed to be. What he's supposed to be doing, and he knows his role obviously. So you know,
Spencer
I
Horwitz.
think
Right now,
yeah. What are his stats for this season?
he is hitting 274 uh with 12 home runs right now. He has been very good for this.
That's really good. And he's played what 100 games?
No, not even 83. He's
Wow.
a very valuable player on this team.
Yeah, I think that shows, man.
Yeah.
Right there. That's 83 games, 12 homers. That's really good. That's half the season.
Yeah.
Potentially a 30. It's kind of pushing it, but potentially a 30 home run 30 home run player next year if he keeps evolving.
Yeah. So we'll see how he does. I think he'll be pretty good. Catch this, Kirk. Catch this. Good job. Um, yeah. So right now the series it's Mets and Blue Jays. It's gotta be I think it's gotta be the Mets win this. They gotta sweep. I need the Mets to win because I want to see them in the playoffs. They are a fun team, man. They
Mm-hmm.
got a lot of good players. Jose Iglesias, OMG, Grimace is on their team. Not anymore, but obviously, but they've got, Pete Alonso's a fun player. Lindor, who's possible for the MVP, Starling Marte, Brandon Nimmo, Mark Vientos has been electric. Francisco Alvarez is a great player. Um, yeah, JD Martinez is on their team too. You forget like Tyrone
Mm-hmm.
Taylor, and they've got a great pitching staff too. Like they've got Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, um, David Peterson's been great for them. He's been in their on their team for a while, for quite a few years now. I'm trying to think of who else. Edwin Diaz, obviously, electric walkout song. Yeah, they've got a pretty decent team. It's good that they just ended their, I think it was 9-game win streak, something like that, 8 game, 9 game. Uh, Still won the series, and hopefully that they win the series against the Jays because Jays playing for nothing right now. Mets got something to play for, so
Yeah.
let's see it. I'm excited.
That the Mets are kind of like I always like to compare teams like to the NHL. The Mets are kind of like the Red Wings in the sense where when they're playing good, when they're both playing good, the league is in a very good spot, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
no, I agree.
And obviously, the Mets are a massive fan base. Same with Detroit, the Red Wings in the NHL. When they're both in great spots, kind of like the Canadians too. I hate to admit it, but when the Canadians are playing good, I feel like the league is in a very good spot. Those big market teams, in New York and Montreal, I feel like those teams when they're playing good, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch, even though if you're not cheering for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I
I
agree.
think I think I think like every baseball fan, regardless of the rivalries that if you despise the team or not, I think you can respect the history and the culture that come with those types of teams,
For sure.
right?
No, I completely agree. I think that yeah, I think that'll be a series to watch at the end of the year. There's a series between the Braves and the Mets, and they're tied right now for the last wild card spot. And that's going to be a series that I think is going to be very important because right now with the season series for them between the Mets and the Braves, they're tied. They're both at they have
Mm,
the exact same wins and losses in terms of in season, like the entire season, they have the same amount, and then their season series, it's only one person that it's only one team, or the team's tied in terms of how they have done in the series. So it comes down to those last 3 games. So,
hmm
strike. That'll be a series to watch. There's a lot of good sports to come up because you got the end of September baseball, which will be entertaining and interesting, and then you got football too. Which will be lots
Yeah.
of so yeah. Anything else you got to add about Blue Jays baseball?
No, I'm just getting ready for that Free Jays game. I'm excited for that food and beer. Very excited.
Yeah, agreed. No, that's fair. You won fair and square. Yeah, but let's move on to our top five. We got a good
Yeah.
top. I'm excited to talk about this one because there's a
hmm
of different things. I didn't do an honorable mention.
Okay.
Might have. I didn't. I might think of one
Okay.
later, but
I'll
yeah,
go. I'll go first this time.
go
I
first.
really like my list. I like my list. Let's not do an honorable mention this week.
Okay.
Um, I will mention it, but I won't put it in the post. My honorable mentions: Mike Breen, legendary NBA. He's the famous bang. He does the bang. Commentate. He's really big with Steph Curry, and he's on ABC, ESPN. Uh, you know, great announcer. With him and he used to be with Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy on the NBA, ESPN. He does the NBA finals and stuff. I remember hearing his voice when the Raptors won 5 years ago, which was awesome.
Did he say, "Is this the dagger"?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh no, that's different. That's Kevin Harlan.
Okay.
That's Kevin Harlan. He's on TNT, but yeah, Mike Breen, 100%. Put him at the honorable mention. At number 5, I have legendary NBC hockey Doc Emmerich. I mean, come on, he has to be mentioned in the great commentators of North American sports, no doubt. Um, just fantastic. His voice, iconic, very iconic voice. I mean, it's hard for me to do an impression, but just great, amazing. Have to include Doc Emmerich in my list. At number 4, another legendary commentator, does multiple sports, does football, college basketball, golf, Jim Nantz. I have Jim Nantz at number 4. Obviously, for me personally, obviously NFL and CBS, one of the great football ones. But he's just underrated because he has great versatility. Obviously, he's famous for doing the Masters every April, which is he's fantastic at doing that. No doubt about it. He also does the PGA Championship in golf and all the other PGA Tour events. But I think just his versatility and doing multiple different sports, and he has a nice smooth voice, and I think everyone can get around that he's one of the greatest to ever do it. And longevity, he's been doing it since the '80s, so got to respect the game. So I got Jim Nantz at number 4. Number 3, I have Al Michaels at number 3, legendary commentator on NBC, and now he's on Amazon Prime. He does the Thursday night games for the NFL. Also did I'm trying to remember what other sports he did. I'm pretty sure he did basketball for NBC in the late '90s. What's that?
Al Michaels sounds very familiar. Yeah. No.
Yeah, if you saw his face, you definitely, if you heard his voice, you definitely know who he is. He also did the Miracle on Ice commentary when USA beat Soviet Union in the 1980 Olympics. Very legendary call. Yeah, just a great voice. And then number 1 and number 2, these are like personal favorites of mine. Number 2, I have Bob Cole, rest in peace. One of the greatest. Probably, I mean, number 1 is probably my favorite, but he's probably the most legendary hockey announcer of all time. But Bob Cole and Harry Neal back in the day. Obviously, I didn't have the chance to listen to that duo because obviously I'm not that old. But I remember I used to listen to the Senators games. He did a lot of the Ottawa games when I watched the Leafs when I was younger, and just such a great voice and iconic, and so many great calls. Obviously, that Lemieux call in the Stanley Cup Finals in 1991, I believe. Yeah, when Lemieux scored that amazing breakaway goal. I'm trying to think of other calls he's had in the past, but yeah, just legendary voice. And then number 1, I think the reason why I want to do, like, I originally, before I wanted to get into York for media, I wanted to be a sports commentator. So at Ryerson, but or TMU as they call it now. But my direct inspiration was Joe Bowen. Obviously, he's gonna probably have the gondola in Scotiabank Arena named after him when it's all said and done. Holy Mackinac, probably the greatest catch line in sports history, I think, is just fantastic. He's the reason why I grew up loving the Leafs, and obviously he's on the radio. I wish he did like he was on TSN and Sportsnet doing the games. No disrespect to Chris Cuthbert and Craig Simpson, but I think Joe Bowen's voice with Jim Ralph on the radio, whenever I had the chance to listen on the radio, I always cherish it because Joe Bowen's he's still doing it. He's still doing it, man. He's been with the Leafs for God knows how long. So yeah, I got it. I just out of respect and inspiration of my love of the game of hockey and sports in general, I just got to put Joe Bowen at number 1. Just legendary voice in sports, in my opinion.
Okay. Those are some great names. Mine again are going to be people that again resonate with my childhood, resonate with calls that I've heard my entire life, which I absolutely love. So, as somebody who's a big baseball fan, there's going to be some baseball comment
Mhm.
on here, but also other sports as well. Um, at number five, I'm not sure if you've heard of this guy, Brian Anderson. He does the play-by-play for the Milwaukee Brewers and does a lot of
Oh
playoffs.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You've definitely heard his voice. You 100% have. He does a ton of playoffs, but he just calls an electric game, makes everything that more exciting, entertaining, and that's what I think the whole goal of this a play-by-play is make.
He does football too.
Yeah, he
He does
does.
football.
He does. Yeah,
Yep.
and he does basketball as well. So he
hmm
just makes them that much.
Versatility.
Yeah, that's versatility. That's definitely skill too. That's incredible to have
hmm
knowledge of all three of the major sports in America, and to be able to talk about that for over sometimes close to 2 to 4 hours, between 2 and 4 hours is intense and crazy. So just Brian Anderson also calls a great amount of games, so it's very impressive. Um, at number four, another guy who does football and baseball, Joe Davis. He does the commentating
hmm
and the play-by-play um, for the Dodgers, and that's one of the best teams. It's gotta just be that much more electric. And Joe Davis just has an iconic, smooth as butter voice. You hear his voice, it sounds incredible every time you hear it. I think one of some of his best calls have been with the playoffs. Last year he did the World Series. He does the World Series, and he did it. He replaced Joe Buck actually in the last couple of years. And Joe Davis does just a phenomenal job, makes everything so exciting. Dolis Garcia home runs. Look up that.
hmm
Look up Joe Davis's call. It's so electric, so cool. And then in 2022, Yordan Alvarez hits a home run in Game 6 of the World Series. Go take a listen to that. It just gives you goosebumps because the call on that is so awesome, so cool. Um, so number three, I got a little biased, but I respect his game. He sounds electric. Dan Schulman. Dan Schulman is great at commentating. Commentated college basketball for a while, and then
hmm
did the ESPN radio for baseball and playoff baseballs and Sunday night baseball as well. He knows how to call a game. He also famously announced the assassination of Osama bin Laden live on television on Sunday Night Baseball, which was crazy.
Wow.
So if you hear that everyone's watching baseball on Sunday night, that's a big thing. And so he announced that and to the world or to America, I guess, when they found out. So yeah, I think Dan Schulman just is again Canadian too, which is awesome. So which is very cool
hmm
for a Canadian to be one of the best announcers in all of baseball is pretty impressive. And I think he's got a silky smooth voice. He does a great job. And yeah, that's definitely my pick for number three. Number
mm
two, I'm gonna go with Kenny Albert. Kenny Albert does hockey, baseball,
Yep.
football too. He's been doing it for why am I forgetting? I feel like it's not TN. It's definitely not TNT. Maybe it is, but he's been doing playoff hockey and playoff baseball, and
No, you're right. TNT. Yep.
yeah, and he famously called with Harold Reynolds, if you know him, the Batista bat flip.
hmm
You know,
Yep.
and
Great
so
moment.
that game you remember uh Dyson, the 1-1 from Dyson. Batista with the drive, deep left field, no doubt about it. That's Kenny Albert on the call. And so I just remember that so vividly. He's got a great voice. He excitement it to him too. It reminds me again of nostalgic playoff baseball, playoff hockey too. He does a great job. So Kenny Albert at number two. Number one, you're not gonna like this pick. I know you're not, but game is game. You got to respect it. Joe Buck. Joe Buck. I cannot say, uh, say this list without mentioning the GOAT, Joe Buck. So many famous calls. We will see you tomorrow night. And a disgusting act from Randy Moss, who should be ashamed of himself, as Randy Moss pulled down his pants.
Mm-hmm.
Fans, love that call. That's hilarious. But no, Joe Buck, just iconic voice. He reminds everybody of the playoff atmosphere. Calls a great game. I just think he's one of a kind, and he's done a great job for a long time. Now he's only doing football. He doesn't do baseball anymore. He used to do, but he's just been doing football, which is a little bit sad. I definitely miss Joe Buck. Calling the final out to Game 7 of the World Series between Cleveland Indians at the time and the Chicago Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
It's famous.
I think it's because he moved from Fox to ESPN, and I think ESPN already has uh their main baseball guy. So I think he's kind of at that point of his career where he just wants to stick with just one sport, I think. And there was a point though where he was doing a lot. Like he was going like back and forth, with doing different sports. Like there's a point in October where he was doing the World Series, and then he'd go on Sunday to the football game, and then go right back to baseball and do the baseball game in the same day. I think it was pretty insane that he was going, doing that. So I think he's at that point of his career where he's just, staying in one lane. But yeah, I gotta admit though, he's a great announcer. I gotta lie, I can't lie. But there is some calls, man, where he just has no energy, and he's just, it's I don't know, man. I don't know.
Um,
That's just my opinion, but I can definitely respect, him with the legendary calls that he's had in the past. So
and there has been some electric, like Rajay Davis is like home run
right.
in the World Series. Like if you've heard that call, that's pretty awesome. When David Freese hit the home run to dead center and in
Mm-hmm.
game, I think it was 6 of the World
And
Series.
the triple to keep the World Series alive,
Yeah,
one strike away. The Rangers
so
were.
many. Yeah, there's just so many different things, like different calls I can think of. Uh, he's done a good job. He's done a good job, and he's consistent. That's for sure. So
Mm-hmm.
can't deny that Joe Buck is pretty good at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad that he doesn't do baseball, but that's for another day. Anyway, anything else you have to add?
No. Great top fives all around. Um, you know, it's gonna be a tough. I think tough to see who wins this week.
Me.
Okay, we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
we'll see. We'll see.
But yeah, we're gonna get this podcast out hopefully before Thursday, because the Bills do play Thursday this week. So only Thursday game this year. So we're gonna try and get it out either before or after, so we can discuss. Maybe we'll do it after the game. Maybe we'll film it on Friday so we can discuss. So we can
Not a
discuss
bad
it
idea. Not a bad.
discuss it next podcast, which would be a good idea. But yeah, we might potentially at our school we might have a new podcast room that we might be filming in. No promises, but maybe a different little setup coming for you guys. In the future, for some podcasts. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Quality could be going up. Quality could be
Let's
going
hope.
up here
Great.
at Bleeding Blue.
Possibility. We'll let you know. We'll keep you guys updated. Anyway, let's move on. Let's finish it off. Remember, thank you guys so much for listening. Remember, like and subscribe if you enjoy the podcast. Leave a like and review on Spotify and YouTube. Give us any recommendations of what you think we could do better. Obviously, we're always here for more constructive criticism. Anyway, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, whatever the fuck it is. We are on it. And cheers. And thank you guys so much for listening. Have a good one.